Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're just going to do another velocity banking review. So, what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy where you throw all of your money into debt with the help of something called a line of credit. And throwing all of your money into debt and not saving it is scary for a lot of people, right? But debt payoff doesn't have to be scary. But I remember once upon a time, I'd be so scared to log into the student loan portal. It used to be called Sally Mae, and now I think it's called Navient. And I think once upon a time I was late like 5 months, and then somebody from India in an Indian call center called me to get caught up because I was just too afraid to log into the debt portal. I was like, oh, 35,000. I don't even know how much I owed. And then I learned these debt payoff strategies. I learned about money, learned about, it doesn't have to be scary. And I know some of you comment like, whoa, how do you do this so quickly? It's because everything is just spreadsheets and math, right? Money is about spreadsheets and math. Business is about spreadsheets and math. It's not even about the product or service. It's about spreadsheets and math. And I don't know if you know the quote from Bruce Lee. I don't fear the man who does 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who does one kick 10,000 times. And that's why I keep making the same video over and over again to show you that, hey, this is legit. And you don't have to be scared, because if you do it yourself, and I always tell everybody, you do the spreadsheets yourself and pay off your debt. It doesn't even have to be your situation. Debt payoff will be relatively easy. Am I right? Wink, wink. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So, velocity banking, first step is the budget, income, expenses, leftover savings, right? So, in this scenario, and I know some of you are really excited to learn this, right? And you want to share with your friends. The way that I would share it, and this is just me personally, is I don't even say the word velocity banking. You see this right here? Let's just hide it. All I say is this: let's say you make decent income, right? But you have a ton of debt, okay? And you have 4 credit cards, an auto loan, a student loan, and a mortgage, and your general expenses on top of that is about $2,000 a month. If you're gonna pay off your debt, do you feel like you need to make more money? You only got a penny left over. And pretty much everybody you know is gonna say yes, right? Everybody you know, you're like, "Oh, yeah, of course, you only have a penny left over." Okay? And then what you do is just kinda show them the optimal setup, right? The optimal setup, which is velocity banking. You don't even have to call it velocity banking. You just say, "Hey, what if we had the same income and same expenses, and then we just kinda redirected that flow of money," right? But here's the trick: we're not gonna save any of it. So if you ask the average American, like, hey, what do you think is better, saving a penny or not saving anything? They'll freak out. It's like, well, this is just almost the same thing, but a penny saved is better than not saving anything. And for the entirety of debt payoff, we're just not going to save money, but we're going to increase this thing called cash flow with the help of something called a line of credit. So, what is a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and use it over and over again, right? So here's my line of credit, home equity line of credit. In fact, if we just do a quick Google search, right? Let's look up home equity line of credit. So what is it? It's kind of like a credit card, but a little bit cooler because you get higher limits, usually lower interest rates, and you could spend the money on anything that you want. So on credit cards, I can't use that to pay a credit card, right? But I can use my home equity line of credit to pay credit cards, students. I could use it to pay itself. So if I got a $50 bill due, well, I'll just borrow $50 from the home equity line of credit and put it back. Bill satisfied. I'm not late. Isn't that amazing? That's mind blowing, right? And so this is my home equity line of credit for $280,000. So I can go to the bank's website, click a button, and they'll dump $280,000 in my checking account. Now they'll charge me a 7.5% interest rate, right? And in this example, use 8%. We'll say we have a $90,000 limit, but we're going to use this to have ultimate flexibility in consolidating our debt, increasing our cash flow, right? That's what we're going to use it for, right? And without this, it's much easier, or it's much harder to not save money. Much, much harder. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. we're going to shuffle some debt into the line of credit. And how do we know which debts to move? Because we got 7 debts, right? Do we move the mortgage? I mean, it's the biggest debt. What about, the student loan? Everybody hates student loans, ick, right? Or the credit cards. And usually we want to start off with the highest interest rates, right? And the easiest way to figure out which debts to move is using something called the cash flow index, right? Cash flow index. And all it is a simple formula of the balance divided by the payment, right? And if you want to do a Google search, just do cash flow index, right? So the loan balance divided by the payment, and then it gives you a number. And I'm just going to go ahead and quickly calculate that for you. 5000 divided by 175. This one is 30,000 divided by 950. This one is 31,000 divided by 107.5. This one is 22,000 divided by 770, right? You get these arbitrary numbers. And luckily with the loans, I kind of have it pre-done here. Give me 1 second. All right, so let me go ahead and copy these. And wablam. Okay, so basically think of this as a ranking system, right? The lower the number, okay, the lower the number, the more bang you get for your buck for paying off the debt. So what does that mean? I could spend $220,000 to get only $900 back in my cash flow to pay off the debt, or I could spend 31 grand to get more than this, right? I get 31 grand and I get $1,000 of cash flow, or I could spend 220,000. That's what the cash flow index means. And so what we're going to do is use these low ranking ones, move them into the line of credit. And it's not a coincidence the highest interest rate credit cards have the lowest cash flow index, right? And so this is what we're going to move this debt. And how much debt is this? This is 5, 30, 31, 22. And let me sum it up. So this is going to be $88,000 of debt. Okay, 88,000. And what happens if we move $88,000? Again, we're not paying it off. We're just shuffling the debt into the line of credit. Well, this is where the heart attack comes in, because people are like, you got to make more money. Now, making money is great. I love making more money, but if we didn't make more money, what would happen if we just shuffled the debt? This goes to zero, this goes to zero, this goes to zero, this goes to zero. And this is the most clickbaity moment of your life. How did we go from 1 penny to $2,902.51? Okay. How did we do that? Right? Isn't that crazy? How do we do that? And so we did it by not saving money. We literally, and with the help of something called a line of credit. Now, if you take a look here, I practice what I preach. If money comes in, I don't save it. I just push it out to the debt instrument, aka the line of credit, right? See, most people, they're like, they have, 5, 6, 10, 20, 100 grand coming. They just want to put it into their checking account. In fact, I've seen financial statements, okay, where someone had $100,000 in a checking account, $200,000 in line of credit. And I'm like shaking my head. What are you doing? Okay. We're not going to do that. Right. So, what we're going to do is put this entire paycheck, this entire $6,681.22 into that line. So, what does that do? Two things: satisfies the minimum monthly payment, right? And then it lowers the interest, because the interest is calculated based on the average daily balance, right? And so now, your original question to your friend would be, "Hey, do you need to make more money?" And then they'll say, "Yeah, you need to make more money, get out of the debt." And you'd be like, "Oh, really?" Right? Let me zoom in. 1 penny to $2,902.51. How do we do that? How? Okay. It's called don't save money and use a line of credit to increase your cash flow. See how easy that is? So let's go ahead and do this. And what we're going to do is take the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest and then subtract our cash flow. So what's our cash flow? It is 2902.51. So 2902.51, right? And then what we're going to do is take the average daily balance. Let's go ahead and do that average here. Multiply it by the interest rate and then divide it by 12 because the interest is calculated monthly. Even though it says 8%, that's 8% annually. Okay. So it's a little deceptive in how interest rates are advertised. Well, I don't want to say deceptive, but not very clear. Okay. And then you see paycheck in, expenses out, paycheck. So after every single month, the balance goes down by 2,900 plus the interest, right? Or the interest is added on top of that as an expense. So let me go ahead and do this. And then I'm going to do this. And then we see that how long is it taking? It's taking 34 months, so a little bit less than 3 years to pay off that debt. Folks, we were sweating balls when we started this because we literally had a penny left. And now in 34 months, we almost got rid of $90,000 of debt. Now, I know what you're thinking because you're probably thinking, well, how do you get a line of credit, right? That's probably what you're thinking. If not, you probably heard me say this 10,000 times. But in order to get a line of credit, and some people are like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. You make it seem so easy to get a line of credit. And that's because as a person who has over $594,000 of lines of credit, which also includes credit cards because credit cards are a line of credit. But look at this. I got an 8,200 personal line of credit. I got another 15,000 personal line of credit. I got a $280,000 home equity line of credit. As a person who has over $594,000 in lines of credit, let me tell you the ultimate secret of getting credit. Banks don't lend money to people who need it. And that is the biggest mistake that most people make is they try to get the money when they need it. And when you go to a bank and you get money when you need it, they're going to be like denied. No, thank you. Go away. And the reason why people think that banks lend money to people who need it is because of they lie to you in their marketing and advertising. Because how many times have you seen a bank commercial that says, "We'll be there when you need us"? That's a lie, folks. They only want to lend money to people who don't need it because people who need money are a big risk, right? It makes sense. And so a lot of people don't understand that. And so, the reason why I teach velocity banking is so that you don't even be here. But if you had a line of credit, it'd be a lifesaver. The way that the bank thinks of you, and I know I have to repeat myself over and over again, is that when they see you making this income and this much in debt with a penny left over, okay, this is like a car crash, a financial car crash. And so when they see you and they're trying to apply for a line of credit, that's to them, that's like you trying to get a car insurance policy after you've crashed a car and you crashed the car with no insurance. That's the way that they see you, right? And so it's much easier to get the car insurance before you start to drive the car. Is it not? Right? And that's how banks see people who need money as a giant risk. And remember, banks don't lend money to people who need it. That's like the ultimate lesson that if you're going to learn anything from this, just repeat it to yourself 10,000 times. I even have a course to sell you on this, okay? I even have a course to sell you. Click the Google form link below and you might possibly join a cult. But banks don't lend money to people who need it. They don't, okay? And get it out of your head that they do. And the reason why I say this is because you need to build that foundation. A lot of people don't have that foundation. Okay. Banks don't lend money to people who need it. Anyways, all right. So let's go ahead and now deal with these loans, right? So let's do the milestones. So what's the milestones? 34 months? 34 months and what was it? 88K? Yeah, 34 months and 88K of credit card debt. So 34 months, 88K. Okay. And 4 credit cards, pretty sweet. And so now let's just do the auto loan, right? Auto loan. Actually, we have this debt calculator or loan calculator right here with the amortized loans. Did you know there's only 3 factors that determine the payment of an amortized loan: the term, the interest rate, and the balance or the original balance? So if you got that, it'll calculate the payment, and then you can also calculate the current balance. So we're at month 34. So let's go ahead and do this 34, 34, 34. And look at the current balances here. And look at this cash flow index, right? 11 grand. I get $459 back in my cash flow versus 27 grand, even though technically this has the highest interest rate. Isn't that crazy? A little bit kind of a different type of thinking, right? All right, so let's go ahead and move this 11 grand into the line of credit. Let's go ahead and do that. And so now this is going to be plus 11433 for 33.02, right? And then what we're going to do is 0, and now it's 3 grand of cash flow. 3 grand, okay? More than 3 grand. And I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. So this is going to be 3361.8. And then, whoa, that was crazy. 4 months and we paid off the car note. That's a miracle. You see how scary it's not? It's not scary. You know, there's a reason why I put that little puppy, that cute puppy, brave puppy that fights off dead. It's so cute, right? Yeah. All right. So now, 38 months. So let's go ahead and then do 38 months. And how much debt did we pay off? It's 88 plus 25. 88 plus 25, and it would be 113K. 113K. And then now, in 38 months, okay, this is 0, this is 38, this is 38, right? Let's move this student loan debt into the line of credit. We'll go ahead and do that. And the reason I feel comfortable doing that is because it's a very high interest rate, and you know, rule of thumb, if the interest rate is very similar, it's okay to move into line of credit usually. But if there's a big difference like this or even this, and the cash flow index number is way too high, we might want to think second thoughts about moving the whole thing into the line of credit, especially your 30-year mortgage. Had people comment about how they listen to the other YouTubers. I won't name any names, but they listen to other YouTubers and they're like, "Ugh, I regret getting that first lien HELOC, right? Because that's the one that's, it's very hard to screw up this velocity banking. Okay, very, very hard. And the only way that I could really see that you can screw it up is you replacing your mortgage with the line of credit. All right, so let's go ahead and do this right here. And I'm going to do Control V. And let's just do this. And then this is going to be 3777.25. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste this. All right, 45 months. And student loans paid off. And look at how little interest that we're paying. $2 in the last month, right? That's amazing. So 45 months, we paid off that debt, student loans, and then this is going to be 113 plus 35, and this is going to be 148K. 148K. Beautiful. Not 248, 148. All right, 148K. And then, all right, so 45 months. What's the balance of the mortgage? 201,000. And usually the safest bet of paying off a 2.8% mortgage, if you're going to use a line of credit, is you're going to be using called a chunking method, which just means you just take a small piece of the loan into the line and then do it over and over again. So let me pull out the velocity banking calculator. Give me one moment. All right, there's the velocity banking calculator pre-filled out, and there used to be a logo here. Somehow the link to the logo got broken, but it's from Renatus. And if you don't know what Renatus is, all it is a what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought because someone text messaged me. Okay, so it's a financial, no, it's not financial. It's an educational company that that where I originally learned velocity banking from, right? That's really what it is. Originally where I learned velocity banking from. So if you're not only interested in learning velocity banking, but upping up your tax, legal, financial education game, along with what else? Real estate investing, click the Google form link below. But all right, so what we do is we just put in the numbers right here. And then I just want to show you something. So this is actually probably the wrong income and the wrong expenses. So let me go ahead and put the income. So what's the income? This is going to be 6681.22, 6681.22. And then the living expenses is, we'll say, yeah, it's $2,000 a month. Okay, so 2000, good. And so now we see that this gets paid off in about 4 years and only 12 grand in interest. Beautiful, right? So it's very beautiful. 4 grand, 4 years and okay, 4 years and 12 grand of interest. Now let's do this, right? So this is $7,000 chunks. Let's replace the whole loan with the line. You see, you're paying about 40 grand of interest. So, I mean, you still pay it off quickly, but why would you pay 40 grand when you could just simply pay 12? Makes sense. And you're still using the 8% line of credit, right? It's crazy. I could even do this with a 30% credit card. And the 30% credit card actually beats the 8% replacement of the mortgage. Didn't know that. It doesn't make sense, right? Totally intuitive. But yeah. So the moral of the story, right? If you're going to use a line of credit to pay off your mortgage, don't replace it, right? That's like the ultimate ew or ick, right? Like it's very hard to screw up velocity banking, but this is like the only way that you can screw up velocity banking. And here's the other thing too. Some people, because they don't have access to this calculator, they don't understand the calculator is smart enough to know that the payment was paid off, right? So if I take a look here, and I take a look up here with this $207,000 loan balance and moves to the line of credit, you notice how this payment never factors into the play because the system knows. System knows the payment is not there anymore. But let's do this. Okay, let's just do a $7,000 chunk. $7,000 chunk. Okay, you see the payments there now? See, calculator's smart, smarter than I am. I'm not that smart. That's why I use this, because these calculations are kind of hard. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. This is a Korean Atlanta mentorship. So you can see that debt payoff was not as scary as you thought. So this is now 0, and we'll just say 45 divided by 12 plus 4. Okay, so 7.75 years, and then this is going to be 148 plus 220, and then this is going to be 368K, and we are debt free, amigos. Did you know in the Spanish language, when a word ends with O and there's a plural at the end, like amigos, it could actually mean all boys or boys and girls? Amigos. Isn't that crazy? Well, it's not, but in today's world, it's insane, and they're trying to eradicate the natural nuances of the Spanish language. But all right, that's it for today, folks. This is Crane Atlanta Mentorship. So have a great day, and as they say in Espanol, que tengan buen día. Do you know what that means? That means have a good day. Okay, I'll see you all on the next video.